Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 finale. Now I know this is coming up incredibly late, and a lot of my videos are going to be coming up incredibly late just because I'm a week behind. I had a lot of work to do, a lot of hours, and also I tried to upload this video before tonight's Flash Season 2 finale came on, but of course, this is what happens when you get stuck with a piece of shit, cheap ass Dell computer that your dad buys you because reasons, and the thing shut down on me, so I couldn't get this up earlier. So first of all, fuck you. So fuck you to Dell, and let's proceed. So Hive and company are on this island, ready to launch the missile silo that contains the mist that's going to turn everybody into primitives. Now, May, Mac, Lincoln, and Yo-Yo are able to cloak the Quinjet and get to the island. I think they said it's Hawaii, I'm not sure, but they meanwhile, they bring like a redesigned version of the memory machine to use on Hive that causes them to have memory spasm, and causes them to relive like memories of Grant Ward, of Will, and of Gideon Malik's brother to distract him after Coulson and the rest of the team tricked the Department of Defense to give them anti-launch codes to stop the missile from launching. And meanwhile, they have Daisy, who's still in the Inhuman Containment Unit, being interrogated by Simmons, asking about what absolution is. Because since I mentioned it to her when she was under his control, and she can't tell him anything, and she realizes that the only reason why she's initially the first person to come to visit her is because she's the only person who she hasn't hurt physically or emotionally. But eventually Coulson comes down to and Mac comes down to talk to her, saying they forgive her, it's just a precaution. She's going through withdrawal, and she is going through that, and has a lot of anguish and guilt from what she's done, in spite of being forgiven for it, and saying that she deserves to be locked up and be punished for what she's done. And because Hive's just losing his sanity from having the multiple memories, and his mind gets scrambled, S.H.I.E.L.D's able to set a trap for him, in which they trap in one of those gel pods that the ATCU is using to keep Inhumans in containment at the beginning of the season, and Radcliffe defects to S.H.I.E.L.D. mostly because of cowardly reasons, because Hive kept threatening to kill him whenever he failed. So, and of course they give him, and of course he gets as much of a warm welcoming as you would expect from Talbot about trying to reverse the effects of the primitive transformation. And Daisy says that it's dangerous to have Hive in containment while on the S.H.I.E.L.D. base, and that they have to kill it as soon as possible. And when Fitz is in the hangar, he notices a crate that's labeled from Absolution, Montana, and too late they realize that the crate contains the mist that transforms everybody into primitive. Several S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in that hangar start getting caught up in the mist and transforming, and Coulson has to try to override the lockdown in order to save Fitz from suffering the same fate, and succeeds, but the other agents are lost, and they're the ones that end up freeing Hive from his gel prison. And when Daisy realizes what's happening, she decides to take it upon herself to go to Hive, and she gets on her knees saying that she wants to be put back under his thrall, but the problem is Lash prevented Hive from being able to do that. She's immune now. She can't go back under his thrall ever again, and so Daisy loses her shit and starts unleashing his powers on Hive. And they have this really cool fight where it's a combination of martial arts and Daisy using her powers to crush his bones, and then he starts stabbing him, but he's unfazed for the most part by any of her attacks. And because Gaera and James are arriving at the hangar, and they're in their airship, Daisy gets distracted and Hive knocks her out, and they decide to take her prisoner just to use her as leverage to prevent SHIELD from shooting them down. Meanwhile, the Primitives start taking over the base, and everybody gets split up. Yo-Yo takes a bullet for Mac, and because they can't get to a med bay, they have to use a blowtorch to cauterize her wound, and it's getting infected, and they have to get her antibiotics. And Simmons realizes that by turning up the heat in the whole base, that the Primitives have infrared vision, and so if they turn up the heat too high, they're able to become invisible, sort of, to the Primitives and get past them to escape the base. And Coulson leads an infiltration team on a Quinjet to take back the Zephyr, since it's being used to disperse the spores by Hive. And he comes up with a distraction in which he uses a hologram to distract him, and you get to see Hive in his true form, and it's more like it's not like it's more like a purplish kind of how Apocalypse looked in the promo photos that were originally released from X-Men Apocalypse, but it still resembles, it still has a pretty fair close resemblance to the comic book counterpart of Hive. And it's a nice little shout out when Coulson says, "I always wanted to do this during the hologram. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope," which pisses off Hive. And May is able to, and during a scene where May is trying to get Daisy's spirits back up, they're cornered by Gaera, and Fitz makes a bluff saying that he has a weapon on the ship that he's going to use that can kill him, and you don't find out that it's actually a cloaked gun that Fitz was holding that uses to shoot Gaera dead, which I thought was pretty badass. And James ends up attacking Lincoln, and he gets injured, but James gets knocked out by May, and he takes it upon himself to, even though Daisy was going to be the one who's going to launch the Quinjet and the warhead into space, so Hive can't complete his plan, Hive follows on board saying that he has Ward's knowledge of operating a Quinjet to, I guess, control it or override it, but then it turns out Lincoln snuck on board, fried the autopilot, and used her powers to zap Daisy off the Quinjet so he'd be the one to fly into space and sacrifice himself. She's broken. She's crying and trying to get him to come back and saying she was meant to do this, but they kind of said that. Lincoln mentioned they didn't want to stay on with SHIELD after the mission was over with Hive, and that he was going to go on and do other things. So it's kind of like a big giveaway that he was going to be the one to sacrifice himself. And so at this point, Hive realizes that it's game over, and they just sort of have this calm conversation, just accepting they're both going to die. And of course, Daisy's broken up about him more than anybody else. And then it goes to a 6-month time jump, in which Daisy's now a fugitive from SHIELD. She's used her powers to apparently rob a bank, and now she's dressed up in goth and helped. I think his name was Charles. Was the Inhumans who can see visions of people's deaths. She used that money to help his family relocate, and gave the Robin to his daughter that he was making for her. And Coulson, of course, is following her. And when he sees the Robin, he says all units move in and try to set up a perimeter. But Daisy uses her powers to propel herself into the air on top of a nearby building and escape. And Coulson says they're gonna have to talk to the director and see where they're gonna get reassigned. So apparently somebody else took over. I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's Talbot who took over, since he's basically supposed to be the face of the ATCU / SHIELD. Maybe May took over, which would be kind of a cool twist. And we'll have to wait and see. And the last shot is just basically Dr. Radcliffe mostly being exonerated and coming back from more court hearings, and apparently uploading his AI Ada into a life model decoy. And they don't say who the person's gonna look like, but it basically ends on that note. So the time jump sets up for a lot of interesting development for next year, with Daisy, going rogue, and Hydra's gone, and I hope we still have the Inhuman storyline. But overall, they really killed it this season. This was definitely like my favorite season of the show. I know some people like season 2 a little bit more just because it was more of a spy show and had less to do with the alien stuff, but to each his own. But anyway, what do you guys think of the finale and the season as a whole? Which season did you like better, season 2 or season 3? Because we all know season 1 was the weakest. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.